Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. You know, I've got a step ladder. I never knew my real ladder. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Resident Evil 3, the board game from Steamforged.
We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review.
In Resident Evil 3, the board game from Steamforged, 1 to 4 players take on the roles of the various heroes from our favorite video game series of survival horror, in which, of course, the Umbrella Corporation is running wild and they've just got to survive. Now, this is a campaign game. You're going to go ahead and set up the campaign, but each individual scenario, you're each going to get a character, and the character has kind of their own stats, you know, how much they can carry, and et cetera, et cetera. You're also going to get some basic weapons. You're going to get a kind of a handgun and a few other items to start you off with the game. Each scenario has a modular game board setup. You're going to set some of the zombies or some of the monsters in certain areas here. You, of course, have kind of doorways that are going to block line of sight and what have you. And you're also going to have various other tokens that illustrate what you're going to find in those rooms. Now, typically in the campaign, you're looking for items that are going to let you advance to the next level. So as you're going through the various rooms here, you're going through the various missions, you're not only looking to beat the specific scenario, you're not looking to necessarily survive that scenario or destroy what you have to destroy, but you're also looking for the items you're going to need to push on to, as I say, the next scenario, the next level of scenarios. Now, on a player's turn, they can do 4 things. First of all, they can move, right? One space from one square to an adjacent square. I believe you can move diagonally. You can attack. Essentially, if you have a weapon in your inventory, you can go ahead and use that. Now, all of your guns have dials, and that is how many bullets you have. So every time you fire, every time you roll the dice, you go ahead and you expend ammunition. You can expend up to 3 bullets at a time, 3 shots. You're rolling 3 die. It may get successful and hit your enemy, and these are kind of rare rolls on a d6. You may push them back, or other things may happen as well. It is also an action to open and close a door. You can also do a search action by going to a special token and removing it from the board, then going through the search deck and finding an item. If you are in an adjacent square as another player, you can exchange cards and weapons and items. And you can also resolve the text on a specific item in order to use it during your turn. Now, if you are trying to get around a zombie, meaning if you are in the same space and you're trying to get around them, you can actually roll to evade. And if you can successfully evade, then nothing happens. But otherwise, those zombies may, again, inflict wounds on you. Now, after you've completed your actions, there is a reaction phase. Essentially, every zombie that is in a link, that is to say, every room that is open between you and them, they will activate. If there are zombies in closed doors, they're not going to activate at this time, only, as I say, if they are linked to you. But they're going to go ahead, and they're all going to take a step toward you, depending on what their movement is. Now, if an enemy is adjacent to you or close to you, they will go ahead and they will attack you during the reaction phase, and you will actually go down on your health chart. Now, after the reaction phase, you have the tension phase. Essentially, you draw a card. Now, most of the cards are green, nothing happens. You may have amber, where there may be some negative effects, some things don't work out quite right. And then you can have kind of the red cards, which all bets are off. You got more zombies coming at you. It's pretty scary. It gets to be pretty intense. But also, too, the color at the bottom of the cards can also trigger certain events on some of the monsters around you. So it just adds a new layer of fear to the game. It's aptly called the tension deck. Now, this is a cooperative game. Players are moving around, trying to essentially work their way through the scenario to find the things they need to find to reach their specific objectives every round. They desperately need to find ammo and other supplies that are going to help them. And if they can succeed in completing the objectives of that scenario, then they win. Resident Evil 3, the board game. So there's a lot more going on here. I just covered the basics here. Like I say, you can go into some rooms, and depending on the color token that's in there, they're in the darkness. You actually roll a die to see what happens. You may get more enemies spawn there. Sometimes it'll be clear, but there's all sorts of things that can happen there. So this game is very, very scary. There's a sense of tension every time you move. You open a door, you move into one of these areas that are uh, in darkness. You don't know what's going to pop up. You don't know what you're going to find. You don't know what the zombies are going to do here. But then again, it's not just the zombies. As you move through the game, you get bigger and badder enemies, just like in the video games. So it's a pretty intense game, and it's a pretty scary kind of dungeon crawl system. One of the things I really like about this is the ammo, because every time you take a shot, you are risking a lot because you don't want to get involved in fights with these guys if you don't have any guns. It's not going to go well for you. So you're going around, you're searching, you're trying to find ammo that you can use because, like I say, your meter's constantly ticking down with what you've got. And I really like how each of the different kinds of guns have kind of different ammo dials that you use here. It's very thematic and it's very scary too. And there's a real push your luck feel because if you got zombies coming at you, and well, I can go over here, but it's going to set me back, or I can stand my ground and try to fight. And so you go ahead and you roll the die, you push your luck, and you try to take them down. But then that's fewer die you're going to have later in the game, fewer bullets you're going to have later in the game here, and that is really really cool. I like kind of how the campaign is presented. Now we've just played the first few games here of this, but I really like how you've got the kind of the city map and you're moving through there, and you've got to kind of find the right items you need in order to advance. I think that is very well done, from a campaign standpoint here as well. One of the things though I really like is there's not like the players phase and then the monster phase. It's just the players phase, and during your phase, that's when you get the reaction. That's when the monsters come after you is on your turn, right? I like the way that that's structured. It reminded me of Cthulhu Death May Die. It's pretty much just your turn, the next person's turn, the next person's turn, the next person's turn. But within those turns, the zombies, the monsters, they're moving. It's a really cool system. Again, it doesn't slow down the game. It feels like you're just boom, boom, ba boom, ba boom. Works really, really well here. All told, Ray and I really enjoyed this game. We thought it was really a lot of fun. It's a great survival horror game. My default kind of comparison is to uh, Zombicide, right? Is this like a Zombicide? And in certain respects, it is. Certainly, you're fighting Zombicide, but it's different enough, and it's got its own character and its own danger enough that it feels very differently. It feels very darker too in a lot of ways here. And I loved the Resident Evil video games when I was in my 20s. I worked at this theater. I performed at this theater, and we had a big screen TV in the back. And what we'd do is we'd kind of wheel it out to the front of the stage, and we'd like watch movies and stuff, and we'd hook a PS1 onto it. And I remember one time, like everybody was going home, but I kind of want to stay and play Resident Evil. So I sat there and I played it, and I'm just starting to play the game, and I'm in this 250 seat dark theater on the front row, right at the lip of the stage, playing this, looking up, and literally I'm enjoying this, but I was there by myself. And I got to tell you, every 5 minutes I'd pause the game. 5 minutes, 5 seconds, literally every 5 seconds, I'd pause the game and look over my shoulder. It was so creepy. I played, and I would have to keep doing that. It freaked me out, and that's one of my favorite memories of Resident Evil. Great video game series. I haven't played nearly them all. I just played a few of them. I like to play more. It's very fun. I love horror. I love horror games. I love horror as a genre. I think this board game does an outstanding job of fitting its theme. It absolutely fits the theme of the game, and I loved it for it. This is a great game. If you're looking for a great survival horror game and you want a campaign experience, I think this is where you need to go. This is Resident Evil 3, the board game, and I'm going to say buy it. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We'd ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. I'd also ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to please check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we take a look at military history, books on history, fun things like that. I even post some of my own lectures on that channel. It would mean a lot to me if you would check that channel out and subscribe. And also, please like this video on Board Game Geek. And also, too, ladies and gentlemen, if you really enjoy the content we bring to you here, I'd humbly ask you to click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. You know, last night I played poker with some weed-smoking cows. It was a high-stakes game.
Please somebody help me on my feet again. And I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
Then we get closer to the enemies and drive them to us, load a bunch of mines, and then get them to go through the mines.
Who are you asking? Me